Motown Rundown. We're all back for this one. It's been the first time in a while that all three of us have been together. But we're back in full force. It's Wednesday, March 27th. What a wonderful March it has been. We're a day away from opening day, which is the majority of the reason why we're recording this episode today. We will have a comprehensive Detroit Tigers preview for you for the 2024-25 season as they start the season tomorrow in Chicago, south side of Chicago, against the White Sox. We will also catch you up on all things Red Wings, as it's now been a very painstaking, blood pressure rising stretch here for this team, and we have neglected the Lions for quite some time. So we'll catch up on free agency signings, but first, Trent Bally, Ryan Collins, what's going on, guys?
I'm really good, but I want to hear about Collins' 25th birthday because we do like to celebrate birthdays on this show every now and then.
Yeah.
There was nothing. Just the boys came over and we hung out. Parents got dinner, the usual. I'm not a big birthday. I mean, birthdays are like whatever, but like there was a decent amount of people over here, probably like 12 or 13 of my friends. We just went to the bar.
Whoa.
That's a good number.
Yeah, there's like cousins, siblings. It was fun.
Nice. Well,
Very
happy
good.
birthday, RC. I mean, we texted you obviously on your birthday. It's been like 2 weeks now since it was.
Yeah.
But it's, you know,
It's been a while since I've been super busy and stuff with work and stuff, so I haven't been on the pod in a while. It's good to see you guys. I feel like I've missed this entire Red Wings thing, and I listened to Rab's pod.
Thank you.
What's it called? What's it called? Actually, we'll talk about the Wings in a second. I'm not even gonna chirp Rat. It's not even about that. I just want to give you my take on the priority thing.
Okay, we can get to your take. How's
How would I
everyone?
just do it? Unless do you have any pressing? I mean, Michigan State.
No, I just wanted to ask. I wanted to ask how everyone's March Madness has been. The bracket. How's everyone looking?
I've been in rough shape. Listen. I picked Auburn to win all.
Does not surprise me at all, Trent, that your bracket is nowhere near.
Hey, listen. I won it last year, which I had no problem boasting about heading into this year. I was like, look, I won it last year by picking Kansas State because Lord knows, I mean, the Final Four was like ridiculous last year. So Kansas State goes to the Elite Eight and I win my bracket pool. How lucky is that? But I kept telling everyone, I'm like, look, Auburn is the best kept secret in the country.
Yep,
they're fifth in the net. They're fourth in KenPom, yet they're a 4 seed. They get put in UConn's region. I was like, they are going to steamroll all the way through, and then it'll be a rock fight with UConn, and they'll come out on top. Nope, they lose to Yale in the first round. And my other team, my sleeper, was Florida, and they lost within like 5 minutes of each other. And I was just like, I'm in shambles.
Florida, Colorado was a great game.
Absolutely love March Madness. It's been great.
What's it called? Yeah, March Madness. I mean, Thursday, I take Friday off every year. It's my favorite. Thursday, Friday are my favorite 2 days of the year. College basketball is legit probably why I love sports as much as I do. It's just like as a kid, that was my favorite sport. That and probably the NBA, the old school Pistons. Like that's why I truly loved sports. Because the Lions sucked, Michigan State football sucked. I mean, Tigers were awesome, so that's another thing too. But I don't know. March Madness is those 4 days are my favorite. It's a lot better when Michigan State's good, but they at least gave us one win, so it wasn't like a complete shit show. But I don't. The thing about March Madness and shit that it drives me absolutely crazy is this year at least, like the Caitlin Clark stuff, and I've been a huge fan. Like the women's Final Four every year is way better than the men's Final Four. I'm not saying that, but the whole thing that it's like, oh, men's college basketball is dying and this and that. This is what my biggest pet peeve with like NBA people, and I like the NBA. If there's not NBA prospects in college basketball, like this year, there's not a ton of NBA prospects. So they just go, oh, it's a bad year for college basketball. What are you talking about? You don't like the product. I hate that. I hate when NBA people speak for college basketball Say, oh, there's not a whole lot of juice in this. How is there not juice? Purdue hasn't made a Final Four. Tennessee hasn't made a Final Four. You kind of go back to back. Caleb Love could play fucking UNC in the Elite Eight. You just don't like the sport.
Yeah.
I hate that. And
just
then
be
I also
honest.
hate.
Don't lie about it.
No. And then every NBA guy goes, I just love guys who give a shit. I just love watching intense basketball, but I hate college basketball. I'm like, okay, dude. Then don't even pretend that you even try to watch it. Because point blank, regular season college basketball, everyone's like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm like, have you watched regular season NBA?
Yeah.
And I like the NBA. They're just like, oh, it's way better. It's not better. Half the games, teams are checked fucking out. Yeah, they're fucking super talented and stuff, and you get to see these amazing athletes. It just drives me crazy. I just want to have a side little tangent on that because I don't have a place to talk about that. And I know this is probably not the podcast for it, but it drives me fucking wild that all these fucking East Coast guys who went to fucking school at a place where they don't fucking have college basketball. So that means it doesn't shut the fuck up. Like, seriously, shut up. You don't get it. That's like my biggest pet. That's my biggest pet peeve with the ESPN and like national media the last 10 years, just missing the mark on college sports. Because I am all for people being like, I love NFL is my thing. Like NBA, there is nothing better than when the school you root for is good at sports. It is a community unlike any other thing. It just bugs the shit out of me when people don't understand it. So, sorry.
Well, I think that handles our little check-in, Ravs. How are you doing?
Sorry, I just had to get
good. No, that's fine. That's fine.
Also, shut up, Michigan State hockey.
Yes, I'm good. I was gonna say too. I wanted to sneak it in at some point. I've had a blast these last couple weeks between. I did move the downstairs television up to the living room, so I've got 2 TVs going. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was awesome. I'm working the first day of the tournament in Detroit on Friday. This was kind of like a newfound love of college basketball for me because I really haven't watched Michigan State all that closely this year because the ups and downs, and it was great to get the one win out of Mississippi State. There was a 10-minute stretch in the game against North Carolina where I was legitimately texting people. I think I called someone too, and I was like, we're going to win the national championship. And then I don't know if they made a basket for the entire second half. I can't quite remember, but it's been good. Michigan State hockey, unbelievable. For those that don't follow college hockey, which is a shame that you don't, Michigan State won their first ever regular season Big Ten championship, followed up by beating the University of Michigan in overtime to win the Big Ten tournament for their first time ever. Now, we have to back up because the Big Ten hockey has not been around as long as Big Ten basketball and Big Ten football. So it's been some time nonetheless, though, since Michigan State hockey has had success. So now they play in the Frozen Four tournament, which their first game is against Western Michigan. There's 4
region
Michigan
is bullshit.
In terms of what? Who their draw?
I don't and I get it's all pairwise. I know that NCAA basketball does it like this. The fact that they have to play Michigan for the fucking 6th time in the tournament is crazy, dude.
Well, yeah, that's assuming if Michigan beats North Dakota and Michigan State.
Michigan State could easily lose to Western too. We could easily lose to Western. So
they could, and then Michigan Tech's playing up top. I forget against who, but nonetheless, it's what a tremendous that game against Michigan was awesome. It's been tremendous to watch this Michigan State team play. You got to tip your cap to Adam Nightingale, Brad Fast, all those guys with the team that have really turned the program around, and it's a hell of a product now, and it's only going to get better. So that's on Friday too. I think at 5:00 they play Western Michigan out in Missouri somewhere, which another aspect of college athletics. I saw someone tweet about this that put the exact numbers out. Michigan State hockey has averaged attendance. I think the average attendance or the sold out capacity of MUN is 6,000. North Dakota, who is playing.
I think their average attendance is 6 reps, and they've probably, and I think it's 8, and they've probably sold out. That's probably a low number.
Well, either way, there's whether their average attendance is 6,000 this year at MUN, and then in North Dakota, because North Dakota is playing in the same region, their average attendance is 12,000, and they're playing in a rink which has a capacity of 2,500 people. So just another amazing feat by the NCAA to be completely tone deaf to their own product and put these guys in a local municipal ice rink as opposed to a real college or pro stadium. So nonetheless, but good for Michigan State hockey. That's cool. And to do it over Michigan is even better, because that would have been hard to stomach on the same day that Michigan State lost to UNC, to watch your hockey team lose to Michigan in the Big Ten championship game. So good stuff, but I can't complain.
I was jealous. Like, I wish I was in school for something like that at Mon.
Yeah.
Me too. I probably should have gone up there to watch that game, to be honest. I
thought about it. Tickets were insane.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Something I remember was like early Impact meetings. Shout out to Impact, where this podcast was birthed. Like, I think I remember it was Collins. You were covering the hockey team at that time, and you were talking about how Danton Cole would come into the pressers and start like, he'd talk about the Lions, and he'd be like,
he always used to that. He would always talk about, so you guys watch the Lions game? Are you ready for the Lions game or whatever? Because I think at media day I had like a Lions quarter zip on or something, and every single time he'd come in, basically, Dan Cole was a really good guy. I mean, it didn't work out, but he was a really good dude. But
yeah,
he was
come
like,
the story I specifically remember was he was like, he'd come in, he'd be like, hey, did you see what Sue said this week in the Dominican Sue?
Something like that. He would be talking to everyone. Well, I mean, Trent, you've gone to those, like, Rabs, I bet you've gone, now that I think about it. Have you ever been in the hockey press room? It's small as shit.
Not hockey. Not hockey.
At Mon, it's super small. There's like 6 people in there. And it's probably a lot different now since they're really good. Like, when I was there, they had good players like Hiroshi and Kodorenko, but like, it wasn't like the level. They weren't a national title contender. So he would come in there and just be like shooting the shit, and he was a good dude. But I don't know.
Very cool.
That was like the cool thing about Impact. Going to those smaller sports was way better than going to, like, I know you cover the basketball team, Trent, but like going to, like, I covered the women's golf and like the golf team one time. It was the sickest thing I got to do. Like,
dude, I remember when Stearns would cover field hockey.
Yeah. Like, he was
the only guy in the presser, and he would like.
I fucking love that. That's why Stearns is a grinder. But what's it called? You know what I'm saying though. Even though like a women's hoops game.
Yeah, totally.
It's awesome.
Yes. Yep.
I did go to football media day. I talked to Connor Hayward. Who else did I talk to? That was cool. I don't know why I went. I don't know who the hell sent me on that.
Those football pressers, I mean, you're not getting a question in. You're just sitting there. Basically.
No, I was like on the field after practice, like walking up to guys.
At Sports Stadium?
No, at the practice field. I don't know what it was, but there was like open media and like people were walking around. I just like people had like cameras and microphones. I just had my phone. I was like, "Hey, Connor, can I ask you a few questions, man?" He's like, "Yeah, sure. What's up?"
I mean, most of the athletes are cool. All those guys are cool.
Just normal guys, but. All right, well, we'll get to it for today. We're going to start with some Red Wings and Lions stuff. I don't think there's anything. I mean, I don't know what there is to talk about the Pistons. I'm sorry. I hate to do that to you guys, but
there's nothing. I mean, literally half their team, they're full on tanking again.
They're mailing it in. They've shut down Duran. They've shut down Asar, right?
Well, we could say Asar having a blood clot is not great at all. Hope he's fine, and hope they caught that early, because that is like a serious medical thing. So I'm not trying to be like selfish or anything, but if that pops up again, like that's like kind of like a career-ending injury. Like that happened to Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Miami. And I think he was older, and it was a little bit different then, but he was basically like done.
Yeah.
So and I'm not trying to be inside. I hope he's all right. He's a young guy. He's in shape. I'm assuming he's going to be fine, it sounds like.
But you need him on the
that's
floor.
Something to be careful about, because if that stuff pops up again, that's like serious shit. So other than that, I mean, like Trent says, they've mailed it in. Yeah, it is what it is.
Well, whatever. I mean, I guess we can recap that season when it's over at some point. So But in terms of what's important to us today, we can talk Red Wings. I did about a week or so ago, if anyone's interested, which now is maybe a bit old hat, but I do think there is some stuff that I covered in there that is still relevant for today. But I did a whole soliloquy on Red Wings hockey about an hour and a half, just by myself a couple weeks ago. Collins, I know you've been itching to get in here and join the conversation. So I guess, I mean, Collins, do you have anything to start off with before we talk about last night's game, or how do you want to attack it?
Well, I listened and I heard what you said about Larkin and like everything in general. And this is from a lot of people at the deadline, like getting mad at Yzerman. First of all, not mad at Yzerman. I think the people who you can't have your cake and eat it. Like a lot of fucking people are like when they're on this winning streak, but look at this fucking farm system. Know what I mean? Know what I mean? And I don't know. I was fine with them standing pat at the deadline. I'm like, what did you want this fucking guy to do? Like, there was not a whole lot out there. And, like, you're not getting anyone who's worth a damn. And unless you part way with these guys that every single Red Wings fan does not want them to, you know what I mean? Part ways with. Like at Edvinson or like, I know Bergen, there's a lot of people like send him away and go get a more steady defenseman. So that was all I had to say about the patch. I'm usually a guy who does not give a fuck about something like that, but when you go 0-8, like it's hard not to be like, okay, guys, something's going on. Yeah, so I didn't care about the patch and like whatever. That's just sports nowadays. But it was very like as they kept losing, it's hard to be like, hey, what the fuck? Like maybe we dial this back. But
oh, there's something there.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say, I mean, talk about Larkin and stuff like that. I don't think the discussion with Dylan Larkin, I think that discussion was like 2 or 3 years ago, Rabs, when people were questioning his leadership. If you've been dialed into the Wings the last 3 years, you've realized he's a completely different player than he was, I think, for the first 4 to 5 years of his career. Am I wrong?
He's definitely elevated his game.
I just
also
he's
a
just
product of him
more
having
of
better players around him.
For sure. And I just think he's a more like 200 feet player than he was earlier in his career. He does a lot more things than he used to do intangible wise, and he still has that offensive punch. And you can clearly see they're much better when he's in the lineup. And then last thing I want to say, I think the brightest spot of this year, whatever happens, Lucas Raymond's fucking awesome.
Yep.
So that's all the win stuff. And the losing streak, I mean, they fumble fucked it. So I don't know what else. I mean, you're going to talk about. We're going to talk about it today. So
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of where we left off last time we were talking. I think they were in the midst of a losing of the losing streak, which inevitably ended. I want to say it was against the Sabres, right? They beat the Sabres 4-1 on Saturday. They go on the road immediately after. They lose 6-3 to the Penguins, and then you actually stack a couple wins here. Overtime win against the Blue Jackets, which we were kind of looking at as that's a game that you have no business losing, and they almost did. But 12 seconds left in the game, Raymond gets a goal. That was the game that Kane scores in overtime. And then I was at the game against the Islanders on Thursday, which was the first game that Dylan Larkin was back, and 6-3 win. They dominated. And it just goes to show how, this league, the Islanders, I believe, lost like 5 or 6 in a row, and then won 6 in a row. And I believe they've now lost 5 or 6 in a row again. So you just talk about the parity of the league and how hard it is to win. And that game against the Islanders was monumental. And now we're looking at a team in the Islanders that I think are 4 or 5 points back of the Red Wings, even, who aren't even in a playoff spot right now after the loss to Washington, which we'll talk about. The Predators I think the Predators are 16-0-2 in their last 18 games. They beat the Wings 1-0 on Saturday. Tough game to watch there. And then, of course, as we can kind of frame things back into present day, Red Wings lose to the Capitals in overtime last night 4-3. So, did you have to have the game in regulation? It sure would have helped, because a regulation win puts you a point above Washington in the standings. They still have a game in hand on you. Now we're let me confirm real quick with our standings, but the Red Wings I believe, are a point back or 2 points back of of the Capitals, right? They have 81 points and the Red Wings have 79. So I think there's 10 games left to play here for the Red Wings. The Capitals have 11 games left to play. And I mean, as far as the game is concerned, I actually thought the Wings hung in there. Their shot totals through 2 periods and through the end of the game. I mean, we're looking at a Red Wings team that usually feels like they're putting up 20 to 25 shots a game. Just a couple mistakes, the clip that's getting passed around, which I mean, I watched every second of the game. Jeff Petrie has a wide open net and somehow he sends it across the goal line like he's trying to make a backdoor pass. I don't even think he knew the net was wide open. So just little things all up and down the ice in all 3 zones with this team. They struggle so heavily to get the puck to the middle of the ice. And I just don't know where, like, we talk about this team with this depth scoring. Alex DeBrincat gets his first in 13 games. Patrick Kane scores again, which is great. Lucas Raymond leads your team in points. He's been phenomenal. But as a whole, I mean, that's a game that you just simply have to go on the road and win. And to me, it's like, for a team that's going to be a playoff team, and I'm not talking about the Red Wings as a Stanley Cup contender because they're not, and I'm not talking about a team that is supposed to go win a round in the playoffs because they're probably not either. But for a team that is comprised of the talent they have, and I use the term talent loosely, that's a team that should be in the playoffs. I don't know how Washington has won as many games as they have down the stretch here. They have a tough-ass schedule coming up, and I got news for you. The Red Wings have a tough-ass schedule coming up, which we'll talk about in a second. So, I mean, you have, again, as I said with the Islanders, you just never know. The Capitals could go lose out the rest of the season. The Red Wings could go lose out the rest of the season. The Wings could go rip off 4 games in a row. I have no idea because I've seen the Red Wings beat teams like the Avs. I've seen them beat teams like the Bruins. I've seen them win and play some really good hockey. They really haven't had that as of, like, I feel like the last month, even throughout, I mean, at least in terms of the end of the winning streak, they just have not played well. And it's not to get into the conversation, but since the patch has been put on their jersey, they have not played very well at all. So as a whole, so if you're a Wings fan, I mean, I'm nervous because I just don't like, at a certain point, like, that's a game you have to win last night. I don't know what else to say. If you're a respectable team and it's supposed to be a playoff team, I think you're muted, Collins. Collins, I think you're muted. Is everyone here? Am I alive?
Oh, sorry, my bad.
It's okay,
My
go
bad.
ahead.
Well, you don't stand on your hands 30 seconds in and just give up one of the most nonsensical goals you could give up behind your net. Like, just, I mean, Sherrod's not there. Lyon's out of position. Like, you cannot allow that to happen when you're up 1 goal in basically a playoff atmosphere game. So, like,
yeah,
they're just not doing the little things right now. And you did talk about scoring. DeBrincat finally scores. He's had a really rough second half. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that they've put themselves in this position for basically playing awesome hockey for about 2 months after New Year's. They've put themselves in the position to be sweating. And the thing that sucks about it, and the only reason they're still in this, is everyone else has sucked. like it's not like they're chasing like someone down. It's basically who's gonna like actually not self-implode in this 8th playoff spot. So
correct.
And like you said, Rabs, it's just infuriating to come. I liked how they played the first 2 periods of last night. 3rd period, first 10 minutes, they're just like they didn't find their light. And I'm not gonna like full on blame Milan because there's flaws on this roster. I'm not like there's definitely flaws on this roster, but it's crazy to just kind of think what this team was about a month and a half ago to what it is now, because it's a completely different thing, especially in like you can talk about the defensive zone. In the offensive zone, it's a completely different thing. You know what I mean? They were quick on pucks.
Yeah.
It was a high flying. They just have not been the same since. It's kind of funny since the patch, but I don't think that necessarily. That's also the same time Dylan Larkin went out. So,
so let me ask you guys this, because obviously I'm not a huge hockey guy. So was it more just the Red Wings were overachieving early? Or like what happened? Was it as simple
No,
as
they were
Larkin
good.
got hurt?
They
or
were good.
Yeah, I know, but like they weren't playing defense then either. So what's the main difference?
Lion for about 2 months was awesome. That's been
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
and
That's
he's
a huge
come
part of it.
come down to earth, but it's not just Lion now in this D. It's the offense too. Know what I mean?
So Collins, your answer to that would be you think they were overachieving a bit.
On
Or about a month and a half.
the goaltending side, 100%.
Okay.
On the with their forwards, I think they have a lot of talent and a lot of like guys along this lineup that are capable of doing what they were doing, and I don't think they have in the last month and a half. I mean, other than Raymond, and I haven't been impressed with a lot of guys. I mean, Larkin speaks for himself, but ever since Larkin went out, no one really stepped up, and that's not the mark of a necessarily playoff team. So I don't think they're making the playoffs. I don't know if you think so, Rabs.
I mean, I don't even, and like it's such a tough spot to be in because like Trent, I don't even know how to answer your question, and Collins, I don't know how to answer your question because I have no idea what I've watched. I don't, because if you were to ask your own head coach, who has very publicly said that this team has overachieved, and even Steve Eisman, this team has overachieved, which begs the question, 5 years in, like when are we going to be content with this roster? And I don't mean to make a mountain out of a molehill, and this is not what this podcast today in terms of the Red Wings is about, but at a certain point, like something has to give with the roster construction. I am so sick and tired of the 1-year deal for Daniel Sprong, 1-year deal for Christian Fischer, 2-year deal for Klim Kostin. Get rid of him because we don't want to pay someone $2 million to ride the bench. Well, Justin Hall's making $3.5 million and he hasn't played a game since my bar mitzvah. Like, not that I was bar mitzvah, but it's just whatever. But it's like it's so asinine, and even like you bring up Jonathan Berggren for a couple games because you have to, and you're able to send him back down because he's waiver exempt. I think he had one more game to play, or however it works out. If he would have played in 1 or 2 more games, you would have had to clear waivers, which obviously he was not going to clear waivers. Is a guy that's a point per game guy in the AHL, and he didn't even look all that good when he came up here for a couple games, but Jonathan Berggren is an unrestricted free agent after this year. In what world is he re-signing with this team? Like, why would he want to play for an organization that doesn't trust him enough to play over a guy like Christian Fischer, doesn't trust him to play over a guy like Daniel Sprong? Austin Zarnik gets called up, and yes, he's a centerman, and Berggren's really not, but like it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me what they're doing with Berggren. And so when we talk about the trade deadline, that to me is a guy that was rumored to have turned down contract extensions with the Red Wings prior to the deadline, and they don't move him. So if you don't bring him back, to me, it's just a waste of talent. Like he's over a point per game in the AHL this year. He scored again tonight in the AHL. So I think Steve Yzerman is probably so discontent with some of these signings he's made. Like Jeff Petrie is the worst player in the NHL. He is the worst. I swear to God, guys, I don't know what it's going to take. Like they might just have to buy his contract out because that's the thing too. If you want to start this movement here and like, okay, Edvinsson's up, great. But Edvinsson is only up because Wallman is hurt. So that's my next question. When Wallman comes back, is he going right back down? Axel Sandin Pellikka, who you took, I think, in the second round. Was it a second round pick this year or last year? The guy's eating like 25 to 35 minutes a game playing in the SHL. He scored in my group chat I have with my Wingnuts guys. He scored the game-winning goal in overtime for his team last night. Like that's a guy that's going to be playing in North America next year. Why can't he just come up and play in the NHL? Like what am I waiting for? What am I waiting for? Watching.
Well, Rabs, can I say something about like
of course.
I think that's how I felt with Edvinsson, and I said it when he didn't make the team. I don't really understand, and I'm on the same page with you, Rabs. Like, if they send Van Edvinsson, what the fuck are we doing? Like, are we not trying to win? And like,
I don't even go ahead. Sorry.
And can you? I think you have more knowledge than me, and I see people on Twitter always talk about who I'm pretty sure like Montreal or whoever Petrie's previous team is paying the majority of his deal, or it's art like
yes, we are not paying the full term of his deal.
yeah, like people are like, oh, have you seen Petrie's deal? I'm like, we're not paying that. But he's not good. He made a nice play last night. I will say that to DeBrincat.
Yeah, and then but he did have a nice assist, but he has a fucking wide open net, and he sailed one across the goal line because he wasn't looking.
No,
he's
Rebs,
horrible.
I'm on the same page. He's not good, but also Ben Sherratt's not good.
Correct. He has not been good.
So that and Mata's hit or miss. Know what I mean? They need. I said this at the deadline, and they didn't do it, which is fine. I think they have enough prospects, enough guys coming up where I'm fine with them waiting and seeing instead of risking. I mean, you're talking about the guy in SHL. He was one of the best players at the World Juniors this year.
Sure was.
You hope to see him next year, maybe if that's what your plan is. But what are you waiting for with Edvinsson? What are you waiting for with Bergeron? What do you like? Why isn't Kosa getting fucking starts at this point? Know what I mean? Like, what are you waiting for with a lot of these guys? And I get Stevie Y likes to keep his guys, know what I mean, in the minors and let them develop. And I don't know how long Vassy was in the AHL. I do know he played in the AHL for a decent amount of time. I think it was about a year or two. Know what I mean? He wasn't like just a guy who jumped up from wherever junior hockey into the league, but I don't know. They're not that good, point blank. And with the direction of this team, it's not. This isn't a thing where I'm disappointed. This is the end of the world, or whatever. I see the blueprint. Know what I mean? With guys like Larkin, guys like Raymond, you re-sign Kane. Know what I mean? Like I think Sider has his moments. Like if you're buying the Iser plan and whatever, you got to wait for all of his guys to come up. And I'm impatient, but none of them are up basically. Really, none of it. It's like Raymond and Sider. That's it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's it. And Edvinsson too, which admittedly, I mean, I haven't really been impressed with Edvinsson's game in the little bit that he's played this year. I mean, I know he's got tremendous size. He's a good enough skater for his size. He has the long reach. He turned the puck over several times in their own zone last night. But that's beside the point. Beside the point, and we'll move on because we gotta keep moving. It is going to be a hell of a run here. And it seems like I have said, this is the biggest game of the year. It's the biggest game of the year. It's do or die. If they lose this game, I'm dead. I've said that a million times in the last couple of weeks. And that's just how it's going to continue to be, which I guess as far as theater is concerned, it's great as a hockey fan and as a Red Wings fan. It's going to make you sweat a bit, but like you're right there. And I don't really understand how last night was kind of made into this thing that's maybe bigger than it needed to be about. They didn't get a regulation wins, like the season's over. Well, again, the Islanders have fallen off the map. They could go rip off 8 wins in a row. The Capitals could lose 5 in a row. The Wings could go 4-1. I mean, like you have no idea. It is a bitch of a schedule. They're going to see their Carolina on the road, Tampa on the road, Florida on the road, the Lightning on the road, if I didn't say that already, the Rangers back at home. Like they have some tough games, and they play the Capitals again at home on April 9th. So there's a lot of hockey left to play. It's just like at a certain point, Collins, and you said it pretty significantly or pretty perfectly, and I don't disagree at all. And this is where I'll end it. Like, it's just the give a shit meter. Like, there's 10 fucking games left, guys. And I don't know what Derek Lalonde says in that room. And not every coach has to be a John Tortorella where he's going in there and chewing everyone a new asshole and he's scratching his captain. Like, not every coach needs to be like that. But it just seems like it's so fucking lackadaisical and so just like, oh, whatever, ho-hum. Like, holy fuck. Like, I mean, seriously, there's 10 fucking games left in the season. You think the Capitals are a better team? Does anyone watch the Capitals play? It's so fucking boring. Does anyone think the Capitals are better than the Red Wings?
They sold at the deadline too, right? Like, this is kind of
weird. They traded 3 players away for draft picks. Like, they didn't even care. They don't even fucking care. But they're winning games, Trent, and that's why I just don't like.
Have you ever seen? Look at their goal differential too. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah, they're like a minus 30 goal differential, and that's like we can talk about the roster, we can talk about injuries, we can talk about prospects, we can do all of that at the end of the season. The only thing I ask of this team, and it'd be one thing if they were fucking playing hard, blocking shots, they're in game. Like, just fucking play harder. Please play harder. They are so fucking soft on pucks. They are late to every puck. The goaltending has been dog shit as of late. Like, all you can ask of Ryan, like, Reimer's been better than Lyon, truly. And apparently Husso's coming back. They're going to give him some time in Grand Rapids to get his feet back under him. But I told you guys for 2 weeks now, I would love to see nothing more than Davila Husso come back with a week left of the season, and he stands on his head for 3-4 games in a row, and the Red Wings backdooring their way into the playoffs. Now they have some momentum because Alex Lyon has fallen back down to earth. James Reimer is a fossil. God bless him for his service this season. But, like, it just comes down to the fucking give a shit meter. They don't get pucks to the inside. They're so fucking soft. They turn the puck over all the time, and they just have some pretty shitty players on their team. Like, it is become the blandest, fucking slowest pace of hockey. Like, they're so responsive and reactive to their opponents, and it takes them so long to get involved in games. It's despicable. And to me, that comes down to your head coach. I'm sorry. Like, what the fuck happened between this winning streak and where your team is at now? And for him to go in the media and talk about how his team is overachieved and we're frustrated. We're frustrated. Just fucking wake up. Like, it's so fucking embarrassing. The teams that we're competing against right now for this 8th spot. Like, you're not catching Tampa. Sorry. You're not going to be a top 3 team in the Atlantic. Sorry. No one's asking you to be. But can you at least sack up and be better than a team that sold 3 players at the deadline in Washington and keep yourself above water from New York, who is the most boring team to watch in the entire league? Like, what is the issue? It's just fucking effort. Like, there are so many players on this team. Andrew Kopp should be in prison for the amount of money he makes and how little he produces for this team. Like, I would love to know the guys that watch these games, these pro scouts that evaluate their own talent, and Steve Yzerman and Derek Lalonde. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just the couch GM, the idiot that's watching these games and going, holy fuck, Andrew Kopp does nothing for this team. He is slower than shit. He's never on the score sheet. He did score twice in front of my face against the Islanders. But, like, what a useless piece of this team that makes $5.5 million. When you could have had Vincent Trocheck, who's a point-per-game player for the Rangers right now. Like, holy shit.
That's a different story because Trocheck, I mean, you put Kopp on the Rangers, he's probably averaging, I don't know, I mean, that's a different situation. So the reason they brought Kopp on is because he was fucking great for Winnipeg and he was great for New York. And the one thing he's really good at, he's really good in the circle. That is why they brought him over. And the other stuff, like, he's a good, like, distributor and he can play in the power. Like, he has not been able to play in the power play. He has not been able to play in the penalty kill. The other intangibles that he was supposed to bring, he has not brought. He's not supposed to be some super high scoring guy, but he's a guy who's good to play around good players. They don't have enough good players around him, and they paid him like he is one of those players. So you're right, Rabs. They kind of fumbled that.
That's a mistake.
No, it is. But you're asking why they signed him. He's one of the best faceoff guys in the NHL, and he showed in New York, in Winnipeg, that he was able to produce on the offensive side of the ice and the defensive side. He had good years. It's not like they just paid this guy off of 1 or 2 to. He was good for about 3 or 4 years there. So it happens. And I think we all liked the deal when they signed it. So it is what it is. That's you swung and you missed. It's going to happen in the GM game. I don't know how many years he has left. 2 more?
No, like 4. They signed him to a 5-year deal for $5.5 million. He has like. So
this is year 2. So he has 3 years left.
I believe so. Yeah.
It's not great. I mean, it is what there's a couple of these, but I to be honest, their whole like third line, their third to fourth line, like Mitchell has just been bad all year. Whatever, like they cannot figure that out. So I don't know.
I mean, whatever. I'm ready to move on. But just my plea is I mean, oh my God, like there is no greater hell than being the team that missed the playoff cut line by a fucking point or 2. And now we're in the middle of the pack with a draft pick. I have no interest in being that team. Like, I don't know what it's going to take for this team to find their jump again, but they have been it has just not been good enough, guys, at all. So, with that being said, we'll move on. The Wings play tomorrow night in Carolina, 7:30 p.m. puck drop. Good luck winning that game. I mean, holy shit. And anything can happen, but like, my God. Anyway, moving on. We'll talk Lions real quick before we get into the meat and potatoes of today, which is the Tigers season preview. Trent, we'll get you back in the mix here. I guess, I mean, we can read through a couple. I mean, I can fire off a couple transactions that were made. Obviously, we can talk about, I don't know how much there is to add to the Cam Sutton situation, but as far as some recent moves that we have not covered, Lions say goodbye to Tracy Walker. I think you and I talked about that, Trent. Michael Badgley's back for a year. Jalen Reeves-Maybin is back. Emmanuel Mosley's back for a year. Graham Glasgow back on a 3-year deal. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I mean, I guess Donovan Peoples-Jones. Yep, Jonah Jackson's gone. Kevin Zeitler is here for a year. Cam Sutton has been released. We'll talk about it. Khalil Dorsey re-signed. Yep, Amik Robertson.
Amik, yeah, you're back.
Amik Robertson signed. Marcus Davenport signed. Carlton Davis traded for. And DJ Reader were the other big ones. So I guess just as a whole, I'll turn over to both of you guys. I've been talking for a while, but how are we feeling? How are we feeling with the free agent signings? If you guys want to touch on Cam Sutton, we're still a ways away from the draft. We're a month away from the draft, so we'll save that. But
for Sutton, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Like, you have to release him.
Yeah, he's gone.
Is what it is.
You hate that. That was tough.
Yeah,
like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but
I have no idea. When I found out it was like someone was like, yeah, it's been like 2 weeks since I'm like, wait, 2 weeks? So that's particularly not great for him. Not a good guy. But yeah, I mean, they went and got Robertson. The trade for Davis, I really like. He's good. Davis is a legit good NFL player. So I like that move. Zeitler was smart to fill in the Jonah Jackson thing. I've been saying this to you guys all year. I thought Jonah Jackson was wildly overrated. I don't think he had a very good year last year, and it was fine for them not to pay the money. If they got Glasgow back, right? So that's all. That's as long as you were keeping one of those two guys to just kind of keep the core of the O-line, I was fine with it. I want to hear TB because I feel like you're more dialed into. And this is how I feel, guys, personally. I know this might not be flashy and good for whatever we're doing here, but it's hard for me to get super excited for NFL free agents because it doesn't work out a lot of the times. Know what I mean? Like he just gets there and it is what it. Know what I mean? So I'm gonna have to see it with my own eyes. I do think the Zeitler, that's a great,
awesome.
Yeah, great for a year.
For a win now team. I think that's a great pickup. You needed depth there. I hope they still draft an interior offensive lineman. But other than that, I mean, I think this free agency, and people will complain about not making the big flashy moves and stuff like that. I wanted them to do something on the edge. They didn't really do that. Reader, good player. He's kind of at the end of his run. I think that's a good move, good short-term move. They didn't really strap themselves down, which they can't. That's like the one thing I don't understand what people don't get. They have to pay all these guys. They cannot be throwing around big deals for these free agents. Like, I want Amon-Ra around. I want Hutch around. I want Sewell. So you have to make that's one of the sacrifices you got to make. And I'm completely fine making it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys hit the nail on the head. I'm sure we'll dive more into this when we kind of get into the draft and what the Lions need, because I'm with you, RC. I think they got to go interior O-line for sure, or edge rusher. But as far as like, I mean, this sounds so cliche, and it sounds like I'm just being Tony Dombrowski on here, but there's no move that Brad Holmes is going to make. I'm not going to get on here and like pound the table that Brad Holmes is fucking up or not. You know what I mean? Brad Holmes knows what he's doing at this point. He's earned every ounce of our trust. And the DJ Reader thing I thought was awesome. I thought Marcus Davenport's a nice ad. And then my opinion is, you get James Houston back healthy. Obviously, you have Hutch, who just came off a career year in his second year, and then you hope to maybe add one more guy in the draft. But I think your D-line is more I think it's more forward than people think. Like, I think the D-line is going to come back next year with a vengeance. The huge hole, of course, is like your secondary and really your linebacking core. So I think you got to draft another linebacker, hope Jack Campbell takes a step, all that stuff. But they seem to address a lot of the secondary issues with Robertson. Dude, what happened with Sutton sucks because, I mean, you guys know that, like, I defended him on the field a lot because I was
Me
like,
too.
I
did too.
He was brought in to be the second corner to Mosley, who you also, I love that signing, bringing him back on another 1-year prove-it deal.
I think people forget that move was made, by the way.
Right, like Sutton was not brought here to be your cornerback 1, and for I would say probably 10 or 11 games, Cam Sutton was phenomenal as a cornerback 1. He just kind of fell apart at the end, and obviously the playoff game wasn't any good and all that stuff. But neither here nor there. I'm not going to beat the table one way or another for Brad Holmes and what this free agency class has brought. Not too flashy on the offensive side, but that's fine because your offense was top 3 in the whole freaking league last year. So do your thing, whatever. We'll get closer to the draft and probably take a closer look at what the Lions need. But I love the Reader signing. I love bringing Mosley back. And I love the Zeitler signing for all the reasons Collins laid out. And this draft is in Detroit, don't forget. So I'm sure we'll have plenty of thoughts on that as we get closer.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, guys? Collins, anything?
I'm a little surprised Amon-Ra and Goff haven't really been signed, but we can talk about that. I would be shocked if that's not done before the draft.
Yeah, it'll happen.
I hope so. If not, that's a legit – they need to figure that out before training camp. So
I think they will. I'm with you, but I do think they will.
Yeah, Amon-Ra, like a little bit not because he's going to get paid. I'm not worried about that. Goff.
They got to make a decision on Goff one way or another, yes.
Yeah, so and I would like to sign him. So other than that, we can get into Tigers.
Has there been any news on Cam Sutton? Like, does anyone know where he is?
I
try to get him on the podcast.
It called? It's was I crazy or did Rod Wood say something about like they had communication with him before they cut him?
Yeah, he was in the facility.
He was working out.
Yeah. He was in the facility, and they were like, okay, you should go turn yourself in. And he was like, no. And they were like, all right, well, we're cutting you. So, I don't know. Kind of weird.
That's crazy.
Strange. But we'll move past it. All right. Let's talk Tigers for the remainder of this podcast. Baseball is back. Tomorrow, the Tigers take on the Chicago White Sox. That is a 4:05 Eastern start time. And then, of course, in typical MLB fashion, they have a fucking day off on Friday. I do not understand it. It is the biggest cock tease of all time when you just get to see the one game and then I have to wait another day. But that's beside the point. We are still about a little over a week away from opening day at Comerica Park. And I saw some cool stuff too. They put out some pictures of all the tube TVs are gone around the concourse. They're all flat screens. And the new video board is in. So
new
cool
video board looks like
shit.
I don't know who the fuck thought that was a good idea.
You don't like that?
It looks like a fucking Tetris block.
It does. I always tell the story that was told to me by somebody who knows more than I do about the organization that next time you guys go to Comerica Park, if you look at the scoreboard, it was built incorrectly, and that foul pole, depending on where you sit, splits the scoreboard like in half almost in left field. It was supposed to be moved over towards center field a bit more. They fucked that up. Now I can't unsee it, but we'll see how this
TVs is huge though. No two TVs is huge. So
two TVs were bad.
The scoreboard, I bet, will look fine. It looks weird right now.
We'll have to see what they throw up there. You never know. But besides the point,
opening day, Rabs?
I will probably go downtown if I can, but I don't think I'm going to get tickets. They are quite expensive.
I will be there.
At the game?
Both.
Okay, well, we'll see. Maybe I'll make my way down. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Nonetheless, we can talk roster expectations. I know Trent has some questions for the group, which is always great that he prepares in that fashion. I'm not going to – I didn't pay attention significantly to the spring this year. I'm not going to lie. I did see – I know Javy struggled. I know Torque struggled. I know Ryan Kreidler had an awesome spring. Parker Meadows had an awesome spring as well. It seemed like all the pitching was really bang on. I don't really think there were any issues with the pitching staff, which is awesome. That's my guy. It's my Tiger this year. I'm going all in, even though he probably shouldn't be on the team. But I don't know. I mean, we can talk as far as the roster is concerned, might be a good place to start. I don't think there were any tremendous surprises. It sounds like it came down to obviously Matt Manning was excluded from the opening day roster. He will start the season in AAA. This is where Collins and I don't
Thank
see eye to
God.
eye. Well, I mean, again, he is hurt all the time.
Wait. Yeah,
You think
let's
he
do this right
stinks?
now.
Okay, you think he stinks?
It's not even that. Who would you rather? Who do you want him to take? Whose spot do you
No,
want him to take?
Hang on. You guys are gonna go at it with this, which I love, and I'm ready. I'm gonna.
No, I'm not going at it with. I'm not going at it over Matt Manning.
No, I just want to say something real quick before you guys get into the minutia of this. I think this, if anything, I hate it. By the way, I wish I love Matt Manning. You guys know.
Thank you.
But I'm just.
Why?
If anything, no. Listen. If anything, I think this just speaks to the Tigers, like you said, Collins, understand that he's really not that good right now, even though he's young and has upside, and they're trying to win games. So I think it's a positive sign of like, okay, dude, just because you're young doesn't mean we're just going to have you up because you're young. Like, if you're not cutting it, you're not good enough for this team.
Is he even young anymore? Like,
No,
how old is
he? He's not.
Got to be 28.
Okay, whatever. Go ahead.
He's not young. But what's it called? Rabs, who do you want else on the roster other than that?
No, I look. I understand.
That's my thing. That is my thing.
But they signed Maeda and Flaherty.
Because Maeda's better than Manning by a lot.
We will see.
Am I taking crazy pills? Manning, first of all,
he's never
the
healthy.
last 3 years, he cannot stay healthy. And when he is healthy, he can't go past like 4.5 like innings. He's fine. He does not have great stuff. His fastball doesn't play up. Like, he's solid. And the thing about it, Rabs, is when I went at you in our chat is because I thought you didn't want to see Reese Olson.
I do like Reese Olson.
I love Reese. I don't think people watch Reese Olson enough to understand. Like, he has very good stuff. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
And he has this kind of reminds me of Struble in the sense, out of all the pitching prospects the Tigers have had recently, him and Struble are the only two guys where I truly am like, oh, he has really good fastball command. Know what I mean? It's not the breaking stuff. He can actually place his fastball, and it has a little bit of movement. But
got a lot of life.
I like Olsen, and I don't think Manning is that good. And did you mention Kreidler not making the team?
Well, I mean, I was going to get into the.
Did you care about that? Because I watched Kreidler in Toledo for a year. He's not that good.
The only thing with Kreidler is that I feel like defensively he's a really good athlete. They are. I do not know what the plan is at third base. I don't even think the Tigers know. And I think he hit like 350 or something this spring. Like, he had a really, really good spring. So it's just a matter of like, I know the farm system is important to an extent, and I don't. The thing that I don't want to overblow here is that, like, there is so much season and so many games and injuries happen, and Kreidler will be up.
They basically said Manning is going to end up being up. Did you see that too?
No. What? Who said what?
It basically said they want him into Toledo to work on his, because he's added a couple new pitches. They want him to add it like this stuff. And you're probably going to see them go to a 6-man rotation at some periods of the season.
That's fine. That's
to protect
fine.
lines. Know what I mean?
And I don't think that Manning not being on the roster makes them worse. And I don't think him being on the roster makes them better. It's more so of a principle thing of like, this team who's so reluctant to spend money went and spent money on 2 starters that they probably only had to pay one of them, if any, and you could have let Manning go and just see what you have. I'm glad Reese Olson is up for sure. I don't have any qualms about that. The other, as far as Kreidler is concerned, to your point, like Collins, I'm at a point with the position players that I don't care where these guys come from. I don't care how old they are. I don't care if they're from the Tigers system. I need to watch an offense that is sustainable and that has more than one guy hitting over 250. So if it's Gio or Urshela, that's the thing with like Kreidler. who was not successful at the plate last year in the little time that he had up with the big leagues. He will be up at some point this year, but he had a great spring to where, like, I don't understand, like, what more did they want from him? He's been screwed. Like, he's not going to be able to play full time with the Tigers. He's just not.
Who, Kreidler?
Yeah, he's just not based on.
But he's one of those guys, Rabs. I'm not kidding. And he kind of got. He didn't get a full opportunity last year when he was on the roster. He got hurt basically immediately. I'm just telling you, he does not have the ceiling to be. He could be like a guy who could be on your team for like 5 or 6 years. He was a solid like platoon guy and stuff like that. I could see that for him, but he's just not that. He's not a player, and I don't think it's worth getting like fired up about it. And the thing about it, the only way you get fired up about it is because it's kind of you have a shortstop on your team that you're paying like $25 million. Oh my God. That Kreidler might be more productive than. That's the only reason. It's not because Kreidler's some great player. It's because we're paying Javy so much money, and Javy's like basically a zero.
Dude, I love Javy so much. But hey, why don't we go into this? Is my first question for you guys because this can be pretty loose. But I just think so. When I look at the lineup, the ideal lineup, obviously you want Torque at first every day. You want Green somewhere, Riley Green somewhere in the outfield every single day, whether you want him at center or in left. And then this is just my opinion, my Tiger, Kerry Carpenter. I either want him in right or DHing every day. Now that Mickey's
can't play the outfield.
I know he's not great out there, but I'm just saying he's got to be in the lineup. Like if you want to get another guy some APs
most days.
But he has to be out there every day is what I'm saying. So
yeah.
Torque, Green, and Kerry Carpenter are my 3 guys. And I'm not including Javy. I think Javy will play every day based on his contract. But I just kind of want to know from you guys, like, is there a name or two? Like, is it important to you to see Gio Urshela every day? Is it important to you to see Parker Meadows every day? Like, I just want to hear.
I think Meadows, I would like to see, and I think Meadows, and it seems like Keith is going to rotate, like, with Ibanez, and that's another guy who had a really nice spring was Ibanez.
He did have a nice spring.
And to be honest, Sneaky had a pretty good year last year. If you really look at he was pretty solid for them. The one thing and Rabs always harps on this, I just don't want to fucking see, like, play Ibanez at second, play fucking McKinstry, like, have McKinstry be your utility guy, have Fearley play right and like, just, I don't want to see, like, Andy Ibanez is playing center field today. You know what I mean? Just like like Eric Haas is in left field.
Yeah, and Eric Haas is starting on the mound for the Tigers.
No, what I mean? Like, I just want to see that stuff. Just do like it is what it is. I would like to see Meadows play a lot. I think he has a lot of potential. I don't know if he's got the ceiling as Torque and Green do, but he's got a lot of potential there, and I just like his game. I think he defensively what he showed last year when he was up, it was so him and Rogers. To be honest, I want to see a lot more Rogers. Okay. I like Rogers. I really like Jake Rogers.
I do too. I think everyone likes him. He's very good defensively. You just kind of it's weird. He's kind of in that in-between stage for catchers because you're hoping that Dingler is something. But Rabs, I'll tee you up right here because I have a little bit of a different approach. I decided this today, by the way. I was driving here to my aunt and uncle's. I had a nice half-hour drive to just reflect and think. Okay? And I decided, Rabs, that I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach with the Tigers this year. I'm expecting them to win some games. I'm expecting to be entertained. AJ Hinch has driven me up the wall the last couple of years. I'm going to blindly trust every single thing AJ Hinch does. And I'm saying this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, somewhat serious. I think this team has enough talent and the young players have enough experience this year. Okay. So I am going to put blind faith in everything AJ Hinch does as far as the lineups, and that's where I want to hear from you because you've been the most critical of that.
I guess this kind of answers your other question too. I just fundamentally have an issue with the way, and I will give AJ Hinch credit. I think for the most part, I think he manages the pitching very well for the most part. It just, to me, like, I look at a guy like Colt Keith as a perfect example, as a guy that should be the second baseman of the future. They just paid him. They just extended his contract without letting him play a single MLB inning. So that to me is your second baseman of the future. if you feel like Colt Keith is capable of earning that contract and playing with the Major League Baseball club, then he needs to be able to play. I don't care to see, on Monday, Colt Keith plays second. On Tuesday, it's Andy Ibanez. On Wednesday, it's Colt Keith. Then it's McKinstry, and then Keith is in left. Like, I have such an issue with it because I don't watch enough teams of like we have to be the only team in the league that platoons these guys the way the Tigers do. I don't understand what is so hard about Canna in left, Meadows in center, Green in right, Rogers behind the plate, Carpenter DHs, Torque at first, Keith at second, Javi at short because you have to. And then at third base, it's probably Gio Urshela because Kreidler's not up. And I don't care to see Ibanez. And I don't like what happened to the days of like Andrew Romine's going to play at second today because we're giving so-and-so a day off. Not we have to get Andrew Romine in the lineup because when it's 75 degrees and there's a waning gibbous moon the night before, that's when Andrew Romine's stature. It's fucking ridiculous. Like when Jimmy Johnson's working the peanut stand in section 314, that's when Romine, like it's insane how deep they go for a team that like hasn't been that good and is kind of underachieved. I just don't care to see it. So like another position, Jake Rogers is the only living, breathing, respectable human that came from that Verlander trade. And like they still like, what is it going to take to let him play every day over Carson Kelly, who is like a first round bust, who's still lucky to have a job in the league? Like that's the stuff I don't get. And I get as far as catchers are concerned, like you don't want to throw a catcher at the plate every single day in a 162 game season. I get that. I do. But I just want to see Colt Keith get to play 140 games at second because that's going to be good for his development. Who is the guy? Jackson Henry Malloy, I think, made a comment in the spring when they were playing him in the middle infield, I believe, of just making a comment like, I'm glad I get to play here and get used to a position and I can settle in. Like, that's my biggest concern is like, I don't need Keith playing second base some days and third base. Like, it just doesn't do anything for the development. And that's all I want. I don't know if I answered your question, but like,
no,
as far
totally
as trusting
did.
AJ Hinch, like at a certain point with AJ Hinch, guys, they have to win games. And if they go out and win
the Rabs, this is the year.
You're right. If they go out and win 110 games this year, which they won't, but if they win and they win this, like guys like me have no legs to stand on if they win. I don't if they win. I just have a problem with how they develop players and the lineups they roll out.
Yeah, that's fine. And what's it called? They don't win this year, then it's the time to be like, hey, what the fuck? Know what I mean? Point blank.
I think we all agree on that for sure. This is like the year where it's not up or shut up time. But I got a couple more questions.
Yeah,
these can be just sort of rapid fire. This is what we do every year. I just want to know. So last season, Riley Green led your team in batting average with 288. Who do you think leads in batting average this season? Collins.
Riley Green. I think Riley Green is almost a complete hitter. I would like to see those power numbers up a little bit, and maybe you'll see that with a less burden defensively for him. But yeah, I think he leads the team in average. I think he is and I wouldn't be surprised to see Carpenter up there. I know Carpenter hits for power.
Yep.
He's a very good He's just a really good situational hitter. You know what I mean? He gets balls in play.
A lot of clutch hits last year.
I could see him making a run at that. Other than that, I mean, Kahana, I don't really have big expectations for him. There's been a lot of buzz for him, weirdly, but I don't see him having like this huge year. But I would say Canna.
Oh, Canna. Okay.
I said Kahana, but it's Canna. But you know what I'm saying? There has been weird buzz for him. Am I wrong?
No. I didn't know who.
I don't understand it. He's not that good.
I don't think anyone knows how to feel about Mark Canna. No one. I don't know how to feel.
You know what he is. He's solid, but people are acting like we just like this is like Torrey Hunter in like 2014. Like he's coming to hit 280 and like I don't think that's the case. But,
all right, Rams, do you agree with RC that Riley Green will lead your Tigers in batting average?
I'm getting shit all over my hands. I don't know what the fuck this thing is over here. Yeah, I would say so. I would think a close second could be Parker Meadows too. To be honest, I do have a future on him and Colt Keith to win AL Rookie of the Year. But Riley Green has just shown you that he is that guy. Like he is a really, really solid hitter, and that was the scouting report on him when he was drafted out of high school, and he has lived up to that. He just needs to stay healthy. I hope the move. I don't get why Parker Meadows can't play center field every day and Riley can play right field. Like
I think that's gonna happen though, Rabs.
I think they will move towards that, yeah, hopefully. But
yeah, I would say without a shadow of a doubt,
like Vierling. I think Vierling and
they're trying to make Vierling a third baseman. Who knows? I have no idea.
Well, Badu
Badu didn't make the roster.
Oh, he didn't? Okay, well that's great. I didn't know that. Sorry, my bad. Well, okay.
Like McKinstry and Vierling are like the rotational guys.
Okay, well, so I agree that it's going to be Riley Green, and a big reason for that is I think some of these younger guys, Kerry Carpenter, Spencer Torkelson, Parker Meadows even, will take enough of a step to where Riley Green's a little more protected in the lineup. So I think Riley Green will settle in and actually be a good hitter. And plus, like you said, Rabs, I mean, he's not going to be playing center. It'll be a little easier on him. He'll be able to focus on his hitting a little bit more. I do agree that if it's not going to be Riley Green, I think it's going to be Kerry Carpenter for a lot of the same reasons. Because I think Kerry Carpenter is going to be able, he's going to slide into that DH role every single day, not even playing the field half the time, hopefully more than half the time. And he's just going to be able to hit. And that leads me to my next question. Who leads the team in homers? Torque had 31 last year. Collins, what do you think?
In homers? Give me Torque. I was going to say maybe Carpenter. I'm high on Carpenter.
Me too.
His numbers are really good. Rab said something about Torque. I do think Torque kind of found something there last year. He weirdly kind of became a pull guy. I'm just interested to see what he is going to be this year, because the build out of him was like he could spray it anywhere. He's got power to all fields and stuff. And that really wasn't the case when he had his power surge. It was him feasting on breaking balls and finally timing the fastball. So I'm interested to see how Torque looks this year. I don't take any stock in spring training for these guys. I really don't. I take zero.
Rabs, what do you think?
I would probably lean. I mean, Torkelson's probably the easy answer. I'm going to say Carpenter for the sake of being a contrarian, but I would like to think God, they moved the fences in. I mean, I think Riley Green's homer should be up. Carpenter's homer should be up. I don't know what Canna. I don't know. Does Canna bring a lot of power? I don't really know.
No,
but
not really.
I mean, we'll find out. Obviously with all these questions, I don't know why I said that, but yeah, I would put my money on. I love Kerry Carpenter, especially like being a pole hitter to right field at Comerica Park, which is now even shorter than it used to be. Like, by all means, brother.
Well, he's also a rocket, and he just got married, so maybe he'll, come out
man of God too. Kerry Carpenter.
Yes,
he's a hot guy. Yeah, he's a hot guy.
Super hot. Probably the hottest guy.
New age James McCann.
You were into James McCann, Rabs?
Well, I thought he was good looking man of God.
He was
a lot of ladies had a thing for Alex Avila for a while.
Oh God!
People say I look like Alex Avila.
Attaboy, Rabs.
Okay.
If you're listening on Spotify,
tune into the YouTube. I will say, if the leader in home runs is not Torque, that's probably that's a good sign of the offense overall. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but unless Torkelson has 7 home runs and Javi has 10, and that's why he's the leader.
But what I'm saying is, I mean, Torque had 31 last year.
I think this year is. I mean, last year at the end of the year, you're like, oh, with Torque, I think you're gonna figure out what Torque really like. This is. I think after this year, you can't really be looking for. Know what I mean? Like,
yes,
year 3, you kind of know what he's gonna be. So
yep, this will be year 3 in the pros as a 1-1 guy, and you're right, Collins. I mean, like I don't know.
You have years where he like after this where he's better, or like I'm just saying like you're gonna know what his ceiling is and what his floor is. I think after this year.
I agree, and I think we all. I mean, he has not, for what it's worth, he has not had a good spring. He's actually had a really bad spring. So hopefully he kind of figures things out and comes in a little locked in. All right, Eduardo Rodriguez was your leader last year in wins with 13. Scooble had 7 for the guys of that are still on the pitching staff. This seems like a layup, but is Scooble going to lead the team in wins, or what do you think here? Collins,
Yeah.
we'll go to you first, I guess.
I mean, Scooble is 4th in odds to win the Cy Young.
Yeah.
Like, he's legit a dude. So if he can stay healthy, he's going to be far. I'm excited to see what Mize looks like too. I'm not saying he has an opportunity to compete with Scooble, which he doesn't. I think Flaherty, what you've seen in spring, if that's any indication what he's going to be, that could be a major weapon for the Tigers. And Maeda is super steady, really, really steady arm, get you a lot of innings, and is pretty solid. He's just good. And I'm just excited to see Mize. There's another guy who's 1-1, a lot of potential. Seems like he's kind of got his velocity a little bit back, which would be nice. And the thing with Mize, I always say this on this podcast. You'd say, oh, he doesn't have the blow you away stuff and stuff like. The reason he was a 1-1 pick out of Clemson, he had great stuff. He had the splitter. He had his fastball command. Auburn, sorry. His fastball command was exceptional, and he lost that at the big league level. So hopefully after Tommy John, he was able to figure it out. And that bat thing, I mean, he hasn't pitched in forever, so he's got to be fresh.
Nice beard too this year. Mize is rocking.
Yeah, he's definitely bulked up too. He's got to be like 20 pounds heavier since the last time he's pitched.
Yeah. I like Scooble to lead the team in wins, which is probably a cop-out answer, but I'm also going to tell you that I am a huge Jack Flaherty guy. And I think him working with the pitching coaches here in Detroit, I know he hasn't really been not 2019 Jack Flaherty since then, but I don't know, man. I just feel like there's something here in a similar way, and we might have talked about this, but like in a similar way that Michael Lorenzen kind of found some stuff again. I think that could be the saving grace for Jack Flaherty, and whether this signing was made to be a veteran piece of the bullpen, or like, you know what, we're signing Maeda too, and we have Manning we can use, so we're fine trading one of these guys at the deadline. Whatever happens, but I think like there is no part of this rotation that I'm like I'm excited to watch every person in this rotation pitch. Like, I'm excited to watch Scooble. I can't wait to see what Mize brings to the table. Maeda is going to be fun to watch. I mean, it'll put you to sleep, but it'll be fun to watch. Flaherty, and then Reese Olson too in another year. Like, it is going to be a fun rotation to watch. I mean, Scooble, like it's crazy that all of a sudden Scooble's getting this notoriety as being a Cy Young candidate. That's great. So, I mean, he's got to be the easy answer, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it's a cop-out answer to say Scooble at all, because I do think it's the right answer. I mean, I think he's got all this hype for a reason. I will say, though, Casey Mize, I got a chance to watch him up close this spring. I watched the Tigers absolutely wax the Twins. That was a fun time. And Casey Mize pitched lights out, so that was great. But as far as like, Rabs, I agree with your premise that like this rotation is more watchable than it's been. And I mean, I don't want to get overzealous here, but since the glory days we always talk about of like the Anibal Sanchez, Doug Fister, where you literally go 5 deep and you got everybody.
Yeah,
and they might even go 6 deep here, so it's awesome. Just to round things out real quick. The over-under, depending on where you look, it's either 80.5 or 81.5 for wins for the Tigers. I just want to know where you guys are going. I'm obviously going over. I'll never go under on any of my teams over-under win totals. But 80.5, what do you think?
I think they go over, and I think they win the division this year.
Let's go!
And
yeah, I
am very, I'm Pistons and Tigers. I'm over positive and biased every year. I look at this division. I just don't think the division's very good. I truly don't. In the last 2 years, I say this then again, they cannot have the injury issues that they've had. Again, it's been 2 years of them basically scraping together pitching. I just don't like. I feel like they have organizational depth now there that it's not a complete disaster if 1 or 2 guys are down. So
you know what else needs to happen? Just not to cut you off, Collins, but like you're right. It's been injuries and it's also been terrible starts. Because I think last year in April, they were one of the worst teams in baseball, and the rest of the year they were above 500, and they actually were above 500 on the road.
Well, if they start bad again, I mean, if they start bad in April again, I'm
going to get canned.
He's not,
No,
but
no.
He would. They wouldn't do that. But what?
Why not? If the Tigers start awfully again, you don't
think? Dude, I think him and Harris are like they are just two analytical baseball nerds that probably kiss each other on the lips.
What is you and the Harris hate?
Okay,
by the way,
there's no hate. There's no hate. But they just seem to be in bed together. Like Harris loves Hinch.
Well, everyone likes Hinch. You were the only person around baseball who doesn't like Hinch.
That's not true. I'm a free.
Well, I'm not crazy about him either. I didn't think this was going to be. I didn't think this was going to be a hot take out of me. If the Tigers start poorly again for the fucking 4th year in a row, Hinch should be on the hot seat.
Trent, I agree with you. I would fire them. I would.
They have been horrible in April and May.
No, Trent, I agree, but the problem is they just they've re-signed to another deal.
No, okay, you're right.
This is what we would do / what would actually happen.
Yes, but this is not.
It would never happen. Like that's never happening.
I think they'll be better too. That's my other thing. I'm sick and tired of getting.
Their schedule's a lot easier out of the gate too. The last 2 years, it's been a fucking bear trap.
Well, that's also true, but I'm just saying the Tigers were an above 500 team on the road last year and didn't sniff the playoffs. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just, and you don't play in a good division. You play in a terrible. I shouldn't say terrible because I think it's going to be better this year. But like, you don't play in a good division at all. So it's all right here for you to take.
Yeah, I don't see with the Guardians. I've seen a lot of I actually do think Kansas City in the next year or two could be really, really good. They're like a year or two away.
They gave Witt a ton of money.
He's worth every penny.
Well, I don't disagree. I'm just saying
he's outstanding.
He has the potential to be a fucking awesome player. He's already pretty good. But
So, anyways, Collins, you're going over 80.5, and you think they were the
like the thing about it, and it's a little bit different now since they don't set up the divisions like they used to, where you can just beat up on a bad division and win your division. I just genuinely think this pitching staff's pretty good, and and you're gonna win a lot of games just based on your pitching staff. And I have questions about the pen because I haven't really seen how Lane has looked in spring. End of the year, he was dog shit.
Yes,
legit dog. Yeah, so I think Foley's a really good piece. There's just a lot of guys in the pen that I kind of like. And I like this starting rotation. And then you have all these young bats that have kind of percolated. Miggy's finally out of the mix, so it's kind of like a new tenure of the Tigers. So I don't know. I'm just confident. I feel what I saw at the end of what I saw most of the year, that was the thing that was kind of frustrating. What you saw most of the year from this Tigers roster, except the first 3 weeks of the year, or when they were like their whole roster was injured, was a competent team. And I think they're competent enough to go win like 85 games. And that might win you a division.
Rabs?
I would take the over. I think 85 games is appropriate, and I do think they should. I think they should win the division. They should win the division. I'm sure that the Twins might have better odds, but that's my thing.
Tigers have like third best odds. They're like plus 300.
At a certain point with the Tigers, like I don't know. I clearly do not know when the managerial between the manager and the GM in the front office, like when do they think they are supposed to be competing? Because like you're in year 3 of Torque, year 3 of Green, you have a really solid pitching rotation. Like even your young guy, I mean, again, we'll see with Mize, but like you like what you had from Reese Olson. Like on paper, it feels like this team is good enough to compete. And if they're not, then it's an indictment on Scott Harris. And if Scott Harris feels like they like this team, then he needs to get rid of Hinch and bring in the manager that he wants managing the team, which I do believe. Like everyone is so enamored with AJ Hinch because he won a World Series and the analytics.
We're not doing the Hinch thing again. We're not doing the Hinch thing again.
I'm just saying at a certain point, like I refuse to have this conversation with you guys at the end of the season where we're like, wow, so and so took a
Everyone
step,
agrees,
and
Rabs.
and
Everyone
like,
agrees with that.
but we did the same thing last year. Like, Torkelson and Green, and
Also,
I'm
half
done.
the pitching.
I'm done
No.
letting everyone off the hook.
No,
I'm done.
Rabs,
Make the playoffs or kiss my ass this year, both of you and the front office.
I
That's all I'm
agree. I
saying.
think we're all on the same page.
We all agree.
Everyone's
I mean,
everyone's
Riley
kissing
Green's
each
got to
other's
stay
ass.
healthy. That's like the one thing, Rabs. When you looked
Yeah,
at it
injuries
last
just fucking ruined the whole
there
season.
was a lot of last year. There was injuries. That was more the thing than. No, but
Hey.
I don't know.
I know. I get what you're saying. I know.
No, I'm just saying. Last year was a little bit different, where like you didn't see a full season. Like you need to kind of see full seasons of guys, and I don't know. We'll see. And Torque, like his first year is so weird. It's kind of hard to judge him off that. Like he was so bad, and then last year was a super weird year. So I agree with you. But the Hinch thing, I'm not doing the Hinch thing. If they're bad this year, Rabs, I'll be in your boat. How about that?
Thank you. And if they're not, I won't have a problem. I'll have to suck up the fact that this is
well.
how
If
they
they're
play,
good,
they
If they're good, you will have to say I'm wrong.
Okay, that's fair. If they're good, I will tell you I'm wrong.
If I'm wrong, I'll say it.
If they're winning baseball games, I will tell you that I'm wrong. And
if they win more than 85 games, you have to say you're wrong.
So
Fine.
the Spark Notes version of this is it is a make or break year for AJ Hinch. I think we all agree. As it probably also is a make or break year for Torque. Maybe not literally, but like if he's going to be a star, we're going to see it. That kind of stuff. Last thing, and I just want to we can do this real quick. Whip around. Does Javy bounce back? And what is his batting average?
Glad you asked this question. Glad you asked.
I love Javy. I need Javy to be better.
I also want to add something to that. I want to add something to that. Let's play worst case scenario. If Javy sucks again, and we all know what sucks looks like, what are they supposed to do with him? / what are they going to do? Collins, you can start.
If he sucks again this year, so he's playing the full year out this year at least. They don't really have any middle infielder prospects. The thing about Javy, he seems to be a pretty good teammate. Like it seems like people like him around the organization. So I don't think you're gonna get to the point where it gets like ugly in that fashion. If he's really bad again this year, I think before next year, it's kind of a situation where you're like, okay, we're buying you out or we're selling you for somewhere for penny. You know what I mean? Like we're stretching this deal for what? Because he's gonna have what, like 60 million left on it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll probably try and trade him for pennies, have someone pay like not even a third of it, like maybe like a fifth of the contract, and then you kind of stretch it out over. The thing about it though is people are like, oh, they're an assistant. They're not paying anyone else. Their payroll is a fucking joke. So like, they can have for them to be like, oh, we're in that should not be an excuse to go spend money next summer, or even to fucking get rid of them. To pay him his money and to send him fucking packing. Just guess what? You're not paying anyone else. This isn't a salary cap league. And the Tigers have enough fucking money and the Ilges have enough money to fucking just be like, okay, go away after this year. If it really gets that bad. I hope it doesn't. I think the defensive metrics don't like him. I actually do think he's a plus defensive player if you watch every day. He makes some frustrating plays, but he also he makes game-changing defensive plays, which not a lot of shortstops can do. So if he's able to do that and be somewhat competent at the plate, which I don't think he can, I mean, I don't know. I hope he has a bounce back here because he is one of the most exciting. He was one of the most exciting guys in the MLB for about 5 years there, and the Tigers basically ever since after his third month in the Tigers, he's been a disaster.
Yeah. So Collins, your answer is no. You don't think he's bouncing back, even if you want him to.
It's hard for me. I want him to. I'm rooting for him. I'm not going to be like the losers who are rooting against Javy in a weird way. I don't understand that. You kind of need this guy to be good if you want to do anything and revalue his contract. So I don't know. The thing about it is, he's really not had a ton of protection in this lineup. And I think he's one of those guys if you put him at the 6th spot or the 7th spot, does he have a better year? You know what I mean? But it's hard for me to even entertain that when you look at what he's done. He has been awful at the plate.
Yeah.
So I got to see it. So
my overarching theme with this entire Tigers team is I'm like the fucking kid from Polar Express. Of like I need to see it to believe it with many things with Spencer Torkelson. I got to tell you too. My Will Vest is on a very, very thin sheet of ice with me this year. I'm not going to sit here and
you
watch.
are the weirdest guy I've ever met in my entire life, Rabs.
Thank you. I think being unique and different is an asset.
Why Will Vest?
Because you can't sell me that there's not other players that can do exactly what Will Vest does or better.
Year.
He got sent down at some point last year.
And he was great when he came back up.
Well, so did half the roster. I mean, come on.
He was bad beforehand.
No, Vest didn't make the roster. They brought him back up, and he was one of their best relievers for like 2 months.
They sent him down at some point. That's all I'm going to tell you.
He didn't make the team.
I think he did make the team.
He did.
Okay, well, Rabs, Javy, what do you think?
Javy. I still hold on to watching Javy with the Cubs. I think like he is a spark plug electric player that has zero confidence in himself and his game right now. He had an abysmal spring. Nothing seemed to change about his approach at the plate. And so my question to AJ Hinch and like the organization is, does anyone talk to Javy? Like, if he doesn't speak English, do they have someone that can translate and just be like, hey,
apparently Hinch went to the Dominican Republic and stayed with Javy this summer. So, or not this summer.
Did what? Speaks English. What are you talking about?
I'm kidding. That was not necessary of me to say, but I struggle to understand what the conversations are with Javy, because nothing changes about his approach. And it's like almost baseball malpractice for no one to step in and go, hey man, let's work on this, because no one wants to watch you do this to yourself again this season. So like I look at the Javy problem as a much deeper rooted problem. Is like, does no one have the balls to stand up and be like, is he that stubborn of a guy that's like, this is how I play baseball, and if you don't like it, fuck you? Because if anyone cares to help him, I would really appreciate it. I need to see it from Javy before I believe it. Like, I do still somewhere deep down feel like he's got great baseball in him, because it's not like he's old as fuck. It's not like he's been through a ton of debilitating injuries. He's whatever has happened in his brain, he has just completely lost his mind. And I would just like to think, I don't know what it's going to take, but the Tigers organization cannot let that go on for. We can't be having this conversation in July. And I think the first step is that he needs to be batting 8th in the lineup. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He has done nothing in spring. I don't even know if he has a hit in spring baseball. And I know spring doesn't matter all that much, but how am I supposed to expect Javy Baez to go from playing in 80-degree weather and sunshine and not getting a single hit all spring to now going to play in Chicago tomorrow, where it's probably going to be 35 degrees and snowing sideways, and all of a sudden he's supposed to be an all-star again? Like, I just don't see it.
The crowd is gonna boo the shit out of him too, because they always do.
That's fine. So in my opinion, this is on AJ Hinch to manage for the better of the team. And if he's not playing well, he should not be playing every single day at shortstop. He shouldn't. They have other options. Like, even though Zach McKinstry and Andy Ibanez are not world beater players, they will produce more than Javy if Javy starts the season batting 160. So that's on AJ Hinch. And if they're going to continue to roll the balls out, let them bat
for giving him $160 million.
I know, but it's on him. It's on him to not play him if he's not
for sure.
Labs,
I agree with that. But the reason
if they're going to bat him, Yes, I know, because of the money he makes. If they roll out the opening lineup tomorrow and he is batting anything higher than 7th, I will throw up. There is no way
He should be batting 7th.
I think 7th is the
7th or
number.
8th.
Seventh is probably around where, yeah.
Which is fine. We'll see. He's going to have every chance in the world for me to turn it around. But like, if the approach at the plate doesn't change, what are we doing here? Because everyone's going to pitch him the same way. And if he's going to refuse to change, then it's an issue. So that's,
Okay.
I love Javy. I think it's if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Seriously. If you take it that seriously and you're going to get mad at me for wearing my Motor City Mago shirt, you're going to be miserable. So just embrace it.
I have always said this about Javy, and I stand by it. In year 3 here with the Tigers, he was signed for his glove. And if some of these guys can pick it up in the batter's box, Javy will be just fine. He'll fall into line. He's not going to hit 300, but if he can hit 270 and play Gold Glove defense at short, obviously the contract is over. It's insane, but you got to spend your money somewhere, and it's a young team, and it is what it is. Just, Javy, I believe in you. I'm going to sing your praises one more preseason, but Rabs is right. If we're hopping on the podcast next week and through the White Sox series, he's 1 for 15. I'm going to be
it's going to be real tough. At shortstop. Javy, like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing
3 pitch at bats, whatever. But hey, the Tigers get underway today, as people listen to this. So
I'm excited.
Let's go. Let's go, Tigers. Let's go. Over 80 and a half. Win the Central.
By the way, I like it's a little. This is the best setup, though, if you're going to have a Detroit opening day, where they basically start the whole year. Like, they have a week on the road, and then you come to Detroit when it's a little nicer.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of a nice setup. So
totally. All right, well, we'll wrap it up. That's our Tigers season preview for Trent Bailey and Ryan Collins. I am Ryan Rabinowitz. You can watch every single episode now on YouTube at the Motown Rundown YouTube page. We are exclusively streaming on Spotify for the time being still, all these years later. You can follow the podcast on there. You can hit the little bell that notifies you every time we post an episode, so that's cool for you. At Motown_Rundown on Twitter, Motown Rundown Facebook page. That's all for today's show. Thank you for listening. We love you guys very much. Enjoy the fact that baseball is back. We love you guys. We'll talk to you next week.